Can you see that little record?
Yeah, I think it goes. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. G'day, Ed. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Yourself, Paul?
Good, mate. Good. Yes. Easter Friday, I've managed to abstain from any Easter eggs and hot cross buns so far.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. But I'm pretty sure the floodgates will open fairly soon. Yeah.
Nice.
And the young
That's
guys
right.
have been absolutely battering them since about 7 o'clock. So it's going to be a fairly physical day, I expect.
Nice one to look forward to this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a lot of bike riding going on.
Yeah.
Fun times. At least the sun's out.
Yeah.
Dead right. So, hey, mate, today we're just going to have a quick chat about Cadence and metabolic impact, and just, talk our way through what we've seen, I guess, in my training a wee bit in the last sort of few weeks. So, as with everything, not really one glove fits all when it comes to Cadence would be probably my opening line, and you need to definitely experiment to find what works best for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, your self-selected is about, what do you say, 85 RPMs typically?
Yeah, my self-selected would be mid-80s. Yeah.
Some guys you'll see a bit lower than that. Some up to 100, maybe even a touch over 100.
Yeah.
So where people will naturally find themselves to be quite different. So we've been doing a few sessions with you recently where we've been playing around with that and doing periods of training with lower cadences and high cadences. What have your sort of feelings and responses to those been?
So I think for me, we did a set this morning actually. It was for some pretty short work intervals, 8 times 20 seconds on with a 40-second rest interval, and we rolled through that 4 times. I started out at a self-selected cadence, which sat around mid-80s, and that felt pretty comfortable for me. We were working at about, 115 odd percent of threshold, 120% of threshold. So self-selected for me felt really comfortable. And heart rate, I think, didn't pop over about 130 from memory throughout the first set. So my take from that, pretty comfortable all in all. 3-minute rest, then second set, I chose to go with a lower than normal cadence. So I sat sort of mid to high 70s, so 5 to 10 below my self-selected. My feedback there would be, again, my heart rate my heart rate did stay low. So my cardiac response was low there. I didn't see much change, but I definitely did feel some extra muscular stress versus my self-selected. Third set, I went with a higher than normal cadence. So I sat around 115 for that third set, which was probably a good 20 to 30 revolutions a minute above what I would normally sit at. And I did note that my cardiac response there, my heart rate definitely crept up towards the end of that set. And I think my last work interval, I ended up mid 140s, maybe high 140s. In terms of heart rate. So that was probably 15 beats a minute at least higher than the other 3.
And what did that feel like from your perspective?
Look, from a muscular point of view, it felt relatively easy, but from a, how did my lungs feel? Yeah, it felt like I was working. It definitely wasn't uncomfortable. But I think from a cadence point of view, definitely unsustainable for me during a race. I might pop up to something like that if I was trying to jump on the back of a bunch, potentially. But no, other than that, it wouldn't be sustainable for me for any, great duration. And then the last set of 8, I popped back down to my self-selected mid-80s, and hey presto, my heart rate sat around high 120s again. And again, felt very comfortable, even though it was towards the back end of my session. So I definitely felt myself that, that mid-80s is pretty comfortable for me. A higher cadence solicits a definite cardiac response and wouldn't be sustainable. But I can see the benefit of including those higher and lower cadence work sets in my training.
Yeah. So possibly then you might use training at different cadences for the same power, because all these sets were done at the same power, right? To alter what physiological system you're stressing with the training. So if you wanted to put extra stress on your cardiovascular system, you might think, oh, one way you could do that is by increasing the cadence at which you're pedaling.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one thing that's really important for people to think about when they're training. You can use a higher and a lower cadence than your self-selected, like you say, to solicit some different training stimuli and adaptation. So, even though your coach might say, go away and ride zone 2 for argument's sake, for 2.5 hours, you can play within that session to get a different training stimuli through altering your cadence.
Yeah. So we've actually seen that in research as well. There are some studies that are showing that you adapt differently to training with different cadences. So you respond in quite a specific way to training at lower cadences versus training at higher cadences.
Yeah. And how would you summarize the benefits for people in terms of doing some work at high cadence versus doing some work at low cadence within their training? Because it's worthwhile people playing with, I think.
Yeah, I think the best easy explanation would be that the response that so cycling at a high cadence and low cadence, even if it's the same power, is not the same thing. That's what we've talked about. Your heart rate responses and your muscular responses might be quite different. Now, we adapt to training in a very specific way. So the training that we do really influences how we adapt. And if we move ourselves into a race setting, particularly a drafting event, so a road cycling event, we're going to need the full range of cadences available to us to perform effectively. You're right, you're not going to be spinning at 115 RPMs very much, but there might be a short burst when you do. And then when we go uphill, we're going to be doing that at low cadence, and we're going to respond in quite a specific manner.
Yeah. So it's about, I guess, enlarging the toolbox that you have. So when you get to a race situation, you have, forced some adaptation through different approaches in your training in terms of varying that cadence, because if you just jump out of there on your bike and spin along at the same cadence, whether you're doing hill reps or, flat time trials, whatever it might be, the chances are that you're not going to be able to respond in a race situation when you need to.
Yeah. You're going to find it is possible to be very well trained at 85 RPMs, but not very well trained at 100 RPMs.
Yeah.
You find yourself losing out if you need to shift into a zone you're not trained in.
Yeah. So that, I guess, probably is the key here, isn't it? In that, when you get to race situations, you've got to be prepared for pretty much any eventuality that might occur. And to your point, if you can be very well trained at a cadence of 85 and be extremely fit and capable, but if you're asked to up your cadence and produce a bit more output to jump on the back of a group, if you're yo-yoing off the back, or you want to try and punch off the front, then your capability probably won't be there.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to, and a lot of people will be familiar if you're a runner and you've moved from a very flat area that you train into somewhere that's very hilly.
Yeah.
So for instance, when I moved to New Zealand, I'd come from Birmingham in the UK, which is a canal city. I did all my running on the canals.
We'll not hold it against you.
flat as a pancake. Did all my ran no hills whatsoever. Felt in great shape. Arrived here on the North Shore, and couldn't string a couple of decent Ks together. Just no chance, because I just wasn't trained for hills.
Yeah. It's the same thing applies. Whether it be terrain or cadence, you've got to vary. Variety is the spice of life, and you need it in training to prepare yourself. You've got to be specific, obviously, but to your race tracks that you're going to be racing on in the future. But you need that variety to have that good toolbox when you get into race situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, then. Well, that's a pretty good summary, I think, of how you can use varying cadences in your training to solicit different responses. So I guess to summarize, what we're saying is, don't just jump on your bike and spin along at the same cadence all the time, because if you always do what you always did, you're always going to get what you always got.
Yeah, absolutely.
So varying that cadence is pretty important, because it'll provide different training stimuli that you can fall back on and improve your racing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, thanks for that, Ed. That's a pretty good Easter Friday catch up. Mate, I hope that you enjoy the weekend and you don't eat as many Easter eggs as I'm going to.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Okay, then. Talk soon.